Hello, hello, my friends, and welcome to the last interactive training session that we have in 2024. We're going to be talking about how to plan your 2025 marketing strategy. This is going to be one of those presentations that I will do that's going to be very insightful and very valuable. So I'm going to recommend for those of you who are watching this, especially those of you who are watching the replay, that you make sure that you are in a place where you can just take notes. There's going to be oh goodness, okay, a lot of information that I'm going to be sharing with you today. And so it's going to be in your best interest that especially if you're watching this on the replay, that you want to hit pause and answer these questions. So I'm going to jump right into it today because there's a lot for me to get into it and I want to be mindful of your time, but I also want to make sure that I get to everything because this is such a huge piece of what you're going to be doing for your business. Such a huge piece of information that's going to help propel you into 2025. So let's get started here today. Okay, so for those of you who haven't met me yet, my name is Penny Fox. I have been teaching classes. This is not my first rodeo, as they say. I have been teaching classes, especially for small business owners, since 2010. I know I've taught at least over 125 social media workshops at the National Entrepreneur Center in Orlando, and where I've worked with hundreds of business owners. So a lot of this information that I'm going to share with you today is not just you could sit there and say, oh, she's just talking about consultants, or oh, she's just talking about people who have a brick and mortar store, because that's not true. All of this work that I have done, all of this information that I'm going to be sharing with you today comes from working with clients for so many years because I am the owner of two businesses. I have a content marketing business that I've had for 25 years. I hit a milestone this year, 25 years. And then I also started the Create Your Business program in 2018, which we are now doing as a group program called the Marketing Strategy Collective. And all of these things combined is where I get this information from. So I'm working from so many different kind of business owners, people who have products, a tangible product that you can hold in your hand, somebody who sells services, somebody who sells things online, somebody who sets a shop on Etsy. All of those things combined, all of this is going to help you. So this is not just for somebody who is a coach or a consultant or who does work just like I do. So today what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be reviewing a strategy goal setting process. I want to talk about what happened with your marketing plans this year. I want to talk about how you can take that information and start to set strategic goals for 2025. I also want to touch on a productivity process. I developed this productivity process. Goodness, I think I did it last year. And then I spent this entire year implementing it just to see if I could really get done. And I was amazed at the amount of work that I was able to get done just by doing this one particular productivity process. And then I'm going to share with you your next steps on how you can keep moving forward. So let's keep going here. So let's set the foundation for your 2025 marketing plans. This is where we're going to start. I know you're probably going to think that what I'm going to say is, oh, check all of your social media platforms and see what the numbers are, and that's going to help you. No, that's not where we're going to start. Where we're going to start is I want to do a little mindset exercise with you. And it's a question that I would ask. What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? I want you to think about that for a second. I know it's a strange thing for me to talk about when I'm talking about your marketing plan, but work with me on this one. Because if you knew that at certain points along the path that you would fail, but these certain points would help you define your path and by that extension, allow you to get closer to your goals, would you push forward with the great big plan that you have in your mind? Because what I think a lot of times is we get so caught up in what if this happens and what if this happens and I can't do this and I can't do this and I won't do this. We shut it down even before we can take a look at our goals and say, yes, this is something that I want to do. So I want you to go into 2025 thinking about this. I want you to think about that it's going to be okay if I fail. It's going to be okay if I struggle. It's going to be okay if I have challenges. That is part of the process. But I'm going to keep moving forward. And if you go into it with this attitude and this mindset, I can assure you, you are going to reach your goals because I am speaking from personal experience. And for those of you who have known me and have been working with me for years before that, and then have also seen what I've accomplished this year and the things that I have done and the way that I have pushed forward for this goal, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I have been challenged. I have been struggling, and I just kept moving forward because I knew in my head that even if I tried to do this, even if I failed, I would still going to move forward because I knew that this was part of the process. Because then I wanted to share this quote here: living your best life isn't what you do, but how you feel when you're doing it and how you continue to keep moving forward. And I want you guys to start thinking about that as we start talking about your 2025 marketing plan. So I just wanted to set this as a foundation of your mindset because I know that a lot of times we have excuses, and I know a lot of times we do things that hold us back. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to be a reason why you don't see your goals happen in 2025. So let's talk about 2024. I always like to say, how can you plan on something? How do you know where you're going if you don't know where you've been? So let's talk through this a little bit. I want you to take your time to work through some of these questions, especially those of you who are watching the replay. This is going to be a great time for you to hit the pause button. Those of you who are with me live, you can't pause me. Sorry. I know sometimes you wish I know my son wishes he could pause me sometimes, but you can't pause me. But you can watch the replay again, and then hit the pause button. But if you feel yourself seeing a question that I'm putting up here on the screen that is giving you something that you're getting wanting to take some notes about, especially for those of you here live, please do, because I'd love to hear some comments towards the end. So let's talk about 2024. Did you have a marketing plan this year, and were you able to follow it? I know that sounds like a really funny thing for me to ask you if you have a marketing plan, but what I have found time and time again, especially when I work with some of my clients, is they don't have a marketing plan. They have marketing ideas. I have an idea that I want to launch a group program. I have an idea that I want to develop this product. I have an idea that I think that this would be a great something that I could sell to on my Etsy store. I have a lot of ideas, but I always go back and ask them, how do your ideas align with your goals? Are they just matching up? Is everything connected to each other? Or are these just scattered random ideas? Because in the second question is here, what was the big goal that you were trying to accomplish? Is the goal to accomplish, I wanted to grow my audience. I wanted to grow my income. I wanted to grow my business to the next level so I can hire somebody. What is your big goal? And if all of these ideas are just ideas and not helping you reach your goal, it's not a plan. So when I ask that question, did you have a marketing plan and were you able to follow it? That's what I'm talking about here. So what changed for your business this year? Another thing that's important. Did your work slow down? Or did you see an increase in your revenue? And when you answer that question, I want you to be specific, not saying my business slowed down because nobody bought from me. There's more reasons than that. We have had an amazing economy this year. There's no reason to say that it's the economy. What we can do is we can look back at our particular behaviors. What happened to increase? When did our work slow down? I'm going to raise my hand and I'm going to say, I know exactly one of the things when I can be specific about what I've done. I created products. I did a lot of work creating products. I did an enormous amount of work this year creating my sales funnel. But one of the things I didn't do very well, which I will be doing in 2025, and I've started doing this already this month, is to spend time in networking meetings, is to spend time connecting and reaching new customers, reaching new audiences, reaching new people. I didn't do that. So when I'm talking about being specific about what happened when I didn't see an increase or my work slowed down, I can be real specific about what happened. So I want you to think about it from that perspective. Think about your business. Did you see an increase? Because what if you did see an increase? You could turn around and say, I started networking back in March, and now by the summer, I started seeing results. That's the kind of answers that I'm looking for. I want you to dig deep into this and be real specific about what happened. And we think about 2024, what things there happily surprised you, things that you didn't expect to happen, things that you didn't think were going to happen, but you were so happy that they did. And what were your big wins? What was the really big thing that happened to you this year that you just think is like, oh my God, that's just the most amazing thing that's happened. I didn't expect this to happen, and this is what happened from it. Talk about that because I bet if we took a look at those things and we broke it down, we might find that you were not really surprised that maybe that things that you were doing along the way encourage this. And so that's what I want to do. I want to kind of, what's a good word? Dissect. Dissect what you've been doing this year. And we can figure out ways that when we see things that happily surprise us, if we see what our big wins were, what can we do to duplicate them? What can we do to replicate them? And we can make sure that we can do this again in 2025. But it's not about happily surprised. It's like, this is what I planned for. And that's what we're talking about here, creating that marketing plan. And we think about this year as well. We think about the good things that happened to us, but we also want to think about the things that were challenging us. What was challenging you in your business? And did you do something differently to face these challenges? I know one of the things that I started to do was, and this is me in particular. I actually started to do that thing. What is that? What is it called? The Artist Way. I started rereading The Artist Way again, in which she talks about the morning pages. And I started finding myself doing the morning pages. And those morning pages, once I started getting into it, I mean, yeah, I'm going to admit the first few weeks was just a lot of me complaining. A lot of it, a lot of it, a lot of it. I'm not going to lie about that. But I think that's the point of the morning pages is to get all that yucky crap out of your head and out and outside and get it onto the paper. But what ended up happening for me and how I did something different to face my challenges was I started writing about it. Well, what if I did this? What happened if I would do this? And what would I do this? And started kind of brainstorming with myself, so to speak, in my morning pages. And so this was something that I did differently this year that I haven't ever done this before. And I did see something, change. I did see a mental mindset shift in myself. So think about this. You did have challenges. Did you do anything different like I just did to face these challenges? And if you didn't, maybe that's one of the reasons why it's still swirling around in your head. So I want you to think if you didn't do anything differently, but I do want you to stay here with your challenges. What was the lessons that you learned from your challenges? What's the opportunity or the hidden meaning that you learned from your challenges? Because I'm going to be honest with you, it was my morning pages that got me to that place of realizing you have been spending all of your time creating content. I have been consistent with my YouTube channel every single week. I have started blogging again. I have gone full force back into Pinterest again. I have been just content. And then I created an on-demand class. And then I created um, a content calendar program. And it's been one thing after another. So the lessons that I learned from what I did was I did not spend an equal amount of time trying to grow my community, trying to network more, trying to reach out to people on LinkedIn more. Those are the type of things that I can sit there and take a look at, the lessons that I learned. And so the lessons that I've learned was I need to be more, um, I guess, I don't want to say equal, but there needs to be just as much time growing my community as there is about developing content. This is the lesson that I've learned. Of course, this is not something I'm trying to tell you what to do. But when I looked at the lessons, when I looked at my challenges, I was able to pull this lesson from it. And this was an opportunity for me because then when I realized that, that's when I started signing up for networking groups. That's when I started thinking about how I could better utilize LinkedIn. Those are the type of things that we're talking about here. So I want you to really spend some time thinking about not just your challenges, but what is the lesson and what is the opportunity or the hidden meaning that's coming up behind this as you're thinking about this. So for those of you, especially who are not familiar with what I'm about to say, is if you are struggling with this and you do need some help, starting in starting this month, as a matter of fact. The Marketing Strategy Collective is going to be one of the big things that I'm going to be talking about all the time. This is a membership group that I've started on Patreon, and it's a group of business owners, and this is the opportunity for you to not work in a solo bubble. You're able to work in a collaborative space and get help with all of your current marketing efforts, everything from sales pages, email sequences, or even to help you work through your marketing plans. This is what we're here for. And this is the link that you can go to online, bit.ly/marketing collective, to get more information. Let me keep going. So let's talk about goal setting. So there's all that stuff that happened in 2024. And I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to let you sit there and let that simmer in your head. But I want us to keep going here. So we think about goal setting for 2025. I want you to think about this from this perspective of the impact. What's the impact that you want to make? And what do you want to see happen in 2025? And this is not just for your business, because as much as we want to think that our business is in this like little compartmentalized place, our business is connected to everything. Our business brings us income. And when we have income, we're able to take more vacations. When we have income, we're able to do more for our kids. When we have income, we're able to do more for our personal life. Our businesses give us the opportunity to be flexible with our time. It gives us the opportunity to feel like we are doing something that we're making a difference and an impact. So when we think about this, it's not just, oh, I want my money. I want to make more money in 2025. We all do. I want you to think about what you really want to see happen in 2025. Because for me, what I really want to see happen is I really want to see all of us getting together in the Marketing Strategy Collective, because I truly believe that there is a power in a group of people together. And when you are not there by yourself, that is a great thing that you can do to set the foundation of where you want to go. So we want to talk about this. Like, what do you want to achieve in 2025? What specific results will help you feel accomplished by this year end? For us to be sitting here, I want us to think to ourselves, if I'm sitting here doing this again, which I probably am, next November of 2025, where are you going to be? Are you going to be in a different space than you are right now? What can you do? What can you do with this year to be more impactful in 2025 than you were here in this year? So we start out going through this, asking a series of questions. And the questions that we go through starts out with your why. Like, why are you in business? And how are you going to translate this into your marketing? And I'm going to say this, and you guys are going to be so tired of me saying this over and over again, but I just feel like it needs to be repeated, because your why for being in business cannot be, I want to make money. It has to be more than that, because if you just want to make money, go get a job, because being a business owner is not just about making money. It's about, whatever it is, it's helping people, it's creating a product that's going to really have an impact in the community. It's about having a service that's going to help other business owners make more money. You know what I mean? It's like, what do you want to be known for? And if people were to remember you for one thing about your business, what would that be? This is your why. And I want you to think about how your why is so connected to your business. Because like I said, it just can't be about money. It has to be about more. And you know your why. I think deep down inside, you do know your why. You've most likely not really put it into real words. And so I'm offering up this time for you. I'm offering up this space for you to really dig down deep and to figure that piece of it out. Because your why is also going to help you determine who are you reaching? Who is this target audience? And you need to be very specific. I used to be able to say, oh, small business owners. Then I would say women entrepreneurs. And then I would go creative entrepreneurs. For me these days, it has everything to do with the type of business that people are the type of business that they're doing. I want you to think about it from that perspective. And if you don't really know who your target audience is, This is a great opportunity for you to start thinking about that, because when you're moving into 2025, your marketing messages are going to have so much clarity. They're going to have so much intention because you know who you are talking to. And if you're still not sure who you're talking to, do some research about their lifestyle and their habits. What is it that your company is doing? What problem are you solving for them? I want you to think about it from that perspective. So we think about who we are reaching. Why we're in business and who we are reaching. All of these things combined are going to help us set our goals here. And of course, we're going to talk about our what. What is your marketing plan? Again, as I said earlier, if it was just a bunch of ideas, that's not what worked. But if you really did have a plan in place, if you really did know I was moving here, I was doing this, I was doing this, I was doing this, what worked and what didn't work. I have a plan in place and I can review what worked. And I shared with you earlier in this workshop what I know for a fact did not work with me. I know for a fact how much I accomplished and how much I produced and how much content I put out there and how much I shared, my marketing messages. But what didn't work for me is I did not spend enough time networking. I did not spend enough time growing my audience. That's what didn't work for me. So let's sit there and be specific and let's just get right into it and be honest with each other. So what goals are you thinking about that are going to drive your business growth? What really worked with it? And I mean down to the nitty gritty. Like, was your call to action telling people to pay for a program that was thousands of dollars versus a call to action being, I'm going to download this freebie so I'm going to get to know you a little bit more and see if there is something that maybe you can help me with? So maybe if your call to action wasn't correct, maybe you were thinking about their pain points and you were thinking about something that I refer to as, what their pain points are, but there's a difference between a pain point and what I believe is a perceived pain point, because a lot of times people function off their emotions and their perceived pain points. And if you were just stuck on this one pain point, you kept on and kept on, and everybody's like, nope, that's not me. I don't have that pain point. I have this pain point over here, and you're not mentioning this over here, so you must not be for me. That's what I'm talking about. And was there consistency with your marketing? Did you show up every single day in the month of, what is that month? There's a month where everybody does this thing on Instagram where they show up every single day and they post something for 30 days straight and then they stop. So how much did that work for you if you showed up 30 days for 1 month and then you stopped? Was there consistency like that? So be really, really specific and really get down to it and think about what was working, and try to I don't want to say take your feelings and emotions out of it, because it's really hard to do that when it's your business. I'm trying to think of a better way of saying this. One of the things that I've done with myself when I review my own marketing plan, I kind of treat myself, not kind of, I do. I treat myself like I'm my own client. How would I speak to my client if I was reviewing that marketing plan for my client? How would I say to them? What would I say? And I mean, I wouldn't be rude because I'm not mean to myself. I'm not that person who speaks down to myself. I would be honest with them. This is what happened, and this didn't happen. Let's talk about why didn't it happen. So maybe having these kind of internal conversations with yourself could be helpful, especially if you don't really know why this didn't work. But I want you to get down to the nitty gritty, because that's where you're going to find the answer. The idea that it's something that had nothing to do with you is completely baseless. Okay. The other question I'm going to ask is, where are you going to be running your marketing? Do you know? Are you just every single week you're on Facebook, you're on Facebook, you're on Facebook because everybody says you're on Facebook? But what if you're missing out on being on some place like Pinterest or on YouTube, or developing an email funnel, or being on podcasts, or starting your own podcast? What if you're missing out on reaching all of these customers because you just think you just need to be on Facebook every single week? Think about that. Think about where your customers are. Think about where they're utilizing their time. Go back to that question that I had before about their behaviors and lifestyle. If it's their behavior and lifestyle not to use Facebook, but you're on there every single day because that's what your behavior is and your lifestyle is, and that's not theirs, it's not going to work. You're not going to reach them. So you need to do a little bit of research about the people, because now we know who we're targeting. We're thinking about their lifestyles and behaviors. And if their lifestyles and behaviors are TikTok users, if their lifestyle behaviors are, they get their, they get their information because they're video watchers. You being on Facebook doesn't help, but you being on YouTube does. You being on TikTok does. So I want you to think about it from that place. And when we talk about where, we also want to talk about our call to action, because it's great to sit there and say, oh, yeah, I'm going to tell you to go to my website. Where on your website? Is there a landing page on your website? Why am I going to your home page? Is there something on your home page that I'm going to be able to download? What is going on? Where is this call to action that I need to know about? I need to be setting up. Is there an email sequence that's going to help me get to know you? These are all the things that we want to make sure that we put into place when we think about where our marketing is going to happen, because our marketing doesn't just happen with Facebook posts. It happens on social media, but it also happens in the email funnel. It also happens on our website. It also happens in any way that we communicate with people in a networking meeting. I'm going to keep going back to networking meetings because that's like totally on my head right now. So I want you to get specific about which platforms that you're going to use and understand how these fit into your plans. Because again, it's not just adding things in for the sake of saying, well, yeah, follow me on Facebook because I'm there. It's about, how does this fit into your plan? How does this help you reach who you're talking to? How does this help you share your marketing message? How is this going to help you grow your business? All of these things combined come into the where. And then we move next to the how. This is when we start thinking about this plan, and not in the sense of how we're going to develop the plan, because I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But what I want to talk about right now is how you're going to run your plan. How are you going to measure your progress? How are you going to handle the obstacles that you're going to face, those challenges that we talked about earlier? Do you need skills, or is there resources that you need? Do you need a system in place? Do you need to outsource? These are all really important things when it comes to developing our marketing plan. Because if you are not paying attention to what's going on, you're just going to keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And that is one of the biggest mistakes that I see time and time again from my clients about when they are developing their marketing plan. They just repeat what they did last year and they bring it over into this year, not even thinking that things that happened last year changed. Maybe the algorithm changed on a social media platform. Maybe people have shifted their attention and they're no longer on social media and they would rather you reach them by email. So duplicating that plan into this year without looking at how you're going to measure what's going on, how you're going to deal with any changes that you need to make or any obstacles that you're going to make, means you're just plowing through with blinders on, thinking, I did this last year, I did this last year, I'm going to do this again, I'm going to do this again. I don't want to know, I don't want to see. And this is what happens. This is why we find ourselves in this place every single year. I know for me, and I'm just going to keep jumping in here and keep sharing personal examples about my business, because I have been in business for quite a while. So I've learned a few things. Let's just say I've learned quite a few things. 25 years in business, I've learned a lot. One of the things that I've done, and I cannot for the life of me remember how far back. It's so far back, I don't even know when I started doing this. I started doing this thing every single month where I call it review and recap. And because I couldn't even find a little checklist thing, I made my own. So I have this checklist that I do every single month, and I check on my numbers and I look at all the platforms that I'm on. I look at my email. I look at LinkedIn. I look at Pinterest. I look at YouTube. I look at my website analytics because I'm blogging again. I look at all of these things. And so I don't just, so yes, I write numbers down because I like to see where the numbers are and where the shifts are. But then I have a whole block of section going with the title called What Happened? What happened? And I have to fill in what happened. What happened was the algorithm changed. What happened was I stopped posting. What happened was, you know, this program I thought was working for me didn't work for me. What happened? And so I like to keep track of it because if I can start the new year with one way, and then I try to end the year with this one plan, and all these things happen in the middle, the the chances of December, November, December timeframe of me remembering something that happened back in February is really, really difficult. And it's not just me, and I was about to say my age, but I'm not going there. It's not just me, it's just the way we all are. So when I can take these little notes down and I can flip back through all of my pages that I do every single month, I can see the progress. I can see the things that are working. And when I see that something is not working, then what happened is, what are we going to do to fix it? How are we going to deal with this? Because we can't just find ourselves here at the end of the year going, I just didn't even know it was happening. Because yeah, you did, especially me. You sure did know what was happening because you wrote it down. You know what would happen. So think about that from that perspective. How are you going to measure your progress? I'm not telling you that this is what you have to do. This is what I do. So think about your skills, your resources, the things that you need. Do you need a system in place? Do you need to just get to a point where, like, I'm just not even going to create this content anymore. I'm going to outsource it to a VA. That's a big thing to know because that's going to help you stay consistent. So how are you going to run this marketing plan? That's a really big piece of this as you're sitting thinking about your goal setting for 2025. So again, I'm going to keep, I'm going to keep saying this. So you guys, especially here, you live with me. For those of you who are struggling with this marketing plan, I hope you do think about joining us in the Marketing Strategy Collective, because we're going to be a really amazing group of like-minded business owners, and you're going to also get marketing strategies and tips from me. But we're also going to talk about things like writer's block, time management, a consistent posting schedule. I'm going to be doing all of those kinds of things, as well as giving you the opportunity to ask questions, to not feel like you are doing this by yourself, and to get some help with your marketing. So let's talk about this. How are you going to get this thing done? Now, this is a productivity process that I want to run through. And actually, I think, Heidi, you probably know about this, but it's always good for me to repeat this to you. What impact do you want to make? And how are you going to make this happen in 2025? For those of you who've been struggling to stay consistent, I want to bring up this point here. I always say that the reason that you're inconsistent, and there is excuses about it. And I want to say this, I'm going to read this here, is rooted in the basic misunderstanding of why it's important to consistently create content in the first place. So it makes sense that you're bound to fail. So if we don't know why we're staying consistent, going back to why we're in business, all of those things combined that I've just been sharing with you, this motivation for getting started with a content creation consistency plan, because your goals are long term and your purpose is to build this business. You want to be that first one that people think about. You want to reach more customers. You want to do this. And so your content needs to be intentional. It needs to have a purpose to it. It needs to be more than just saying, I'm on Facebook, go follow me there. There needs to be more to it than that. And so I want to talk through this. I want to talk about how you can stay consistent with your content creation. And quite honestly, this is also a process that's going to help you put a plan in place for not just your content, but other things that are connected to your business. But I'm kind of, encasing it in content because that's a lot of the stuff that I do. So I want to talk about this RBI process. I developed the RBI process. I think I started last year, but then I spent this entire year doing this, and it has been amazing. I cannot begin to tell you how much I have created this year. And I don't mean just content. I mean, I have created products. I have created an on-demand class. I had recreated my entire sales funnel from doing this process. So I want to talk about this. RBI stands for research, brainstorm, and implement. And so this is the way that your marketing plan gets implemented, and it doesn't turn into what we talked about at the very beginning, where I just got a whole bunch of ideas and I'm going to hope that they work. This is a good way. And again, before I get started of breaking this down for you, I want you to know If you start doing something like this and you find a way that works for you, by all means, change it. I am not telling you that you have to follow this exactly to the point, to the letter. This is a flexible process. This is an opportunity for you to find you and your work style in it. I'm just giving you the framework of what needs to be done to help you do more and to get more done. So let's talk about the first step is research. And you want to be specific with your research. It's not like I want to grow my email list. Would I use my example of growing my email, my YouTube list. Let me start that sentence over again. I used the example when I was talking about, talking about YouTube. So when I got real specific about what I wanted to do with my research was growing my YouTube's channel subscribers. It wasn't just about YouTube. It came very specific because I could have said about YouTube, how can I, you know, extend my watch time? That's real specific. That kind of thing. How can I find hashtags that more people can find me? That's very specific. And the most important thing about this research part is you give yourself a time limit to research. This is not an excuse for me to check back in with you a month later and you go, I'm still in research mode. No, you're not. You're procrastinating. Because I can tell you that as much as I have on my plate and as much as I get done every single week, I do not research for an entire month. Depending upon the product or the project or whatever I'm working on, I give myself maybe 2 days, maybe a week at the most. But I am not going to be sitting here a month later. Give yourself a time limit because you need to hit that time limit so you can move on to the next step. And the next step is brainstorming. So now we take all of this stuff that we've researched. I always suggest that you use a creative activity to open up the right brain. But you look at the things that you have found, all of this stuff, and take the ideas and look and you think, what can I do not to imitate this, but to innovate this? How can I get this idea to work for my business? What's a good way for me to take this idea, to take these answers that I've uncovered from my research and turn this into something for my business? So I gave you the example here. So I took the two top ideas that I uncovered because I took a walk. And that's one of the things that I do to open up my right brain side is I take a walk. I walk my dog, and my dog Cooper and we go for these walks. And before I go for a walk, I have a question in my head. And as I'm walking and I'm processing it, and I know what's happening is I'm thinking about these two ideas. I'm thinking about my YouTube channel. I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about that. And it's amazing to me every single time. By the time I get back from my walk, one of two things have happened. One is neither one of these are going to work. I'm pretty sure of that. And then the second one is I keep thinking about this one over and over and over again. I'm going to find a way to make this thing work. And so I know at that point that I've seen something, come through that this is the one that's going to stick with me. I'm going to sit here and try to implement this. I'm going to figure out a way that this is my idea. This is where we're going with it. I'm going to do this. I think I just saw something. There it is. A question. Oh, Jennifer, great idea. Thank you. I wasn't sure, Jennifer, you had a question. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss you. Okay. So that's one of the things that I do. Again, it's just me. I'm not saying you have to go for a walk. I just really advise you to think about some type of creative activity. And creative activities could be anything from baking a cake, writing your morning pages. That's an activity that's going to open up the right side of your brain. Going for a walk, sitting in your back porch or in your garden or something like that. Something that's not here in front of your laptop. That's what I'm talking about when I'm referring to a creative activity. So then we get to the next step, which is implement. So this is the point where we're going to implement. We're going to think about these innovative ideas. And we think about the action steps that we need to do. And then we start to develop the plan. But here's the thing, and this is where everybody gets tripped up. You are not allowed to start researching the next topic until you have implemented or at least begun the implementation process on your growth action steps. Because everybody gets really excited about the brainstorm, and everybody gets really excited about their ideas, and then they start researching something else, and then they brainstorm, and then they research, and then they brainstorm, and then they research, and I'm like, that's great. What'd you get done? Nothing. I just researched and brainstormed and walked a lot. You got to implement it. And you can't, and I always, and this is a thing, this is a sticky point too, because I get caught up into it and I'm like, oh, why you want to do it? Nope. I got to implement this thing first. So you've got to implement the thing that you just went and spent all this time putting a plan together. At least get those action steps started. At least put the plan in action. If it's not something that you can knock out in a couple of weeks and you realize this is going to take me a lot longer and I don't want to just put everything on hold, get started. Get it started and then put those steps into a calendar. This week we're doing this and pre-plan it so you know that you are not going to neglect implementing this. So I included, when I did my YouTube plan, I had action steps and timelines and deadlines. I created timelines and deadlines for myself, again, as if I was my own client. I treat myself like a client sometimes. And I say, you know what? Let's see, where are you this week? Let's have a conversation. Let's have a check-in. Let's have a, what's going on? That's how we have to do it. And, it's just this matter of following these steps. And one of the things and I said this to you when I first started talking about this. Now, if you find a way that your implementation process is different than what I explained, you do that, because I don't want to hear any excuses about, well, you told me to do this and I don't feel good about it. So I didn't do it. That doesn't work for me. What's going to work for me is for you to say, so what I did was I realized that this and this was a little bit different than what you did. So what I did was I switched it to do this and this and this, and that's how I got it done. That's what I want to hear you say. So I don't want you to think that I am telling you that this is exactly how you have to do this and this is exactly what you need to do. And if you can't do this, it doesn't work. That's not true at all. This is just a framework for you. This is just some steps to give you some productivity process so that you can start to develop your own routine. That's what this is. That's all this is. So don't point a finger at me about that. So I want you to sit here and think about this from that place. I want to keep moving on to being consistent with your content creation. And what I want to do is I want to dig into your content calendar. I have just spent, I don't even want to know. Oh my goodness. It's been a lot of time this year. One of the things that I did was I developed the content calendar blueprint program. And this is, and I gave you the link here. It's not a productivity app. It is a system to help you set up your content calendar. This is the part that you're going to put this plan into place. So there's a link right there if you want to check it out. Go ahead and write that one down or put it on pause or whatever. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about why your content calendar is the thing that's going to actually help you stay consistent with your content creation. Because it's going to help you develop a process. It's going to help you do more than just schedule it. And if you are using your content calendar, and I've said this on several of the videos on my YouTube channel, if you are using your content calendar because you have these tiny little squares and you think these tiny little squares are just like Monday on Facebook, Tuesday on Instagram, Wednesday I'm on TikTok, you are not using your content calendar the best that you can be. Your content calendar is not just a schedule. It's the roadmap. It's the way that you're going to visualize your strategy. And I mean visualize it because your content calendar is going to be laid out visually. Whether you do it in a digital sense, whether you do it on a piece of paper or you print out something from Pinterest, you are visually going to be able to see your strategy. And that is an amazing thing. I'm not going to go into the whole thing the way that our brain works, but when we visualize something, it's going to resonate with us so much better, as opposed to just, typing out a couple of dates and then putting it in a Google Doc and it's somewhere hidden in your folder. It's going to help you look at key dates and stay on timelines because we're going to use our content calendar to work backwards, especially if we're launching something, if we're launching a program, if we are wanting to talk about a product that we're going to be selling. We start with the date when we're launching and we work backwards for it. It's going to give us timelines. I know by this month I need to have my videos done. I know by this month I need to have my website up. I know by this week I need to have you know, the email funnel in place. It helps you plan out where you're going and what you're doing. And also by the fact that this whole visual thing that you get to look at allows you to stay accountable. And you can track your progress because if you're doing this digitally, you can do check marks on it. If you're doing this manually, you cross a line off. You can see what's gotten done and you can see what's not. It's really that simple. I'm not trying to complicate this for you. This is what I'm talking about. It's the whole idea about putting this process together. So let's talk about this process and how you're going to build this out. Because your content calendar, again, like I said, this is not just about putting dates on a calendar. You know, I almost kind of wish that I could change it instead of content calendar. I might think of another word. Not right now. It's not coming to me, but it'll come to me sometime. But we think about our content calendar. We look at the point of defining our goals. And as we look at how we're going to get to those goals, that's how the plan becomes intentional. And it's not just random. So if we want to achieve, if we want to launch a group program, this is what our goal is that we want to achieve. We start to think about how we're going to get there. And so then our content and the work that we're doing with our marketing becomes intentional because we think about if this is where I'm going here at the end, what are the touch points? What are the timelines? What are the things that I'm going to do to get me there? And we're no longer random posting because, oh my God, I haven't been doing something in like 2 weeks. I'm going to throw a quote up. Oh, there we go. I've posted. Yay. It doesn't work like that. We think about it from our goals perspective. Are you looking for leads? Are you looking for sales? Are you looking for website traffic? Are you trying to grow your email list? All of these things combined are going to create your goals and it's going to give you intention and it's going to give you structure and it's going to give you a path to how you're going to get there. And you're going to think about how you're going to plan to show up to reach these goals. What are we going to do? Are we going to be on social media? Are we going to utilize our emails? Because if we're going to use an email funnel, then we need to figure out how do we get people into our email list? What do we do to get people into our email list? So it all gets connected to it. It's not just a matter of, I don't know, I just want to make more money. I keep going back to that because it just feels like there's so many times when I meet with clients, that's the answer that they give me. And it has to go deeper than that. And so I feel like I'm like begging you, please make it go deeper than that. I want you to think about how you're going to show up to reach these goals. And your content calendar process is going to start tracking. It's going to start looking at what you're doing every month, every single week. And you're going to have these topics and you're going to have these themes. And you can break down your goals, that how you're going to reach them with your weekly action steps. And you can think about it from this perspective here. You can, like awareness in quarter 1, product service launch in quarter 3. One of the things that I do at the end of the year is I don't want to say it's a very detailed plan. It's more of a it's about it's like a piece of paper. And what I do is I break it out into first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and then I put little notes on there. What is the goal for each quarter? Am I launching something? Am I doing a workshop? Is it am I doing this? Am I email growth? What am I working towards that month? Those are my monthly themes, my monthly topics that I'm working toward because there's always the goal that I'm working towards. And so I break it down into that. And if I could just think about it from the perspective of what's happening this month affects what happens next month, which happens next month, and that all happens what happens 6 months down the road. It's all connected. And when I can visually see it listed out like that, I can see it, how it could, and I can see the parts where there's a disconnect. I can see if I'm doing this month and I'm trying to do this month, where's the connection between the two of them? And do the two of them connect in a way that's going to help me reach that goal? And if I could say, no, not really, it's not going to work. And so that is the point that I'm talking about when we can see these plan in place. And we also use our content calendar with our content buckets. The topics that we're going to rotate, the things that are going to be the foundation of the content that we're actually going to share. And are these content buckets, these topics that we're sharing, is this the type of content that's going to make sense to reach your goal? Let me see here. I'm trying to think of an example here. I could say that that would work too. I'm trying to think of something that if I was to use a topic, let's say I'm trying to grow my email list. And when my goal is to grow my email list is to create content so that the people on Pinterest will find it, go to my blog post, and then download something that's going to grow my email list. So my goal then is to think about what kind of content should I put on Pinterest that's going to help me grow my email list. And so I come from that place right there. And if I'm just posting something on Pinterest that says, hey, this is pretty, come click here, and it doesn't have any value and it doesn't have any intention to it. Because that was kind of stupid to say. I just realized that I just opened my mouth and said it, whatever. But it doesn't fit. It's not going to help me reach where I want to go. But when I lay out the whole plan like that, I can actually see that one right there. That's a disconnect. That makes no sense. Replace that with a better topic. And so now I'm not creating content that's disconnected. Now I'm not creating content that's just random. It makes sense. It all comes together with the sales funnel. So I want you to think about this from that perspective. And so when we're putting this content calendar together and we're thinking about our goals, we want to think about it from, I do quarterly and then monthly and then weekly to get me in alignment with making sure that I am reaching my goals. And then the content calendars, obviously. Now we're going to use it what everybody else uses it for. It's your content ideas. You're going to have brainstorm sessions to work through your content ideas, for social media, blog posts, videos, podcasts. And even if you're not going to do your own podcast, maybe you could do something like, how can I be a guest on people's podcasts to grow my reach? That's a thing that if that's a thing you want to do, brainstorm. How do I find the people to be a guest on a podcast? What would I talk about? What would be my topic? How could I reach out to somebody on LinkedIn and say, I'd love to be on your podcast? Because you know what they're going to say. What do you want to talk about? I got to have all that ahead of time. So I want you to think about how you can plan some brainstorm idea sessions so that you can work through these content ideas and how it's going to be intentional, how it's going to help you reach your goal. And then the other thing about the content calendar that is so amazing that I often wonder that people don't take full advantage of this part. And quite honestly, in the content calendar blueprint, I do a whole session. Each one of the levels has something called a workflow routine process. And I want you to think, how will you plan to get your content produced? And we talk about a routine flow, a workflow routine. It has everything to do with the fact of all the steps involved. I always use this example of YouTube when I'm talking about a workflow process. Is when I first started on YouTube, I literally had no idea what I was doing. I have never done anything like this before. So when I figured out my whole process, I realized what I was going to do was I'd create videos. I don't have my face on there. I have this footage that I put for some strange reason, and I can't get into it right now. I can't. Um, I work better when I don't have to, I don't know why, because I can talk to you guys here on a workshop all day long and not have any issues on it. But for some reason, I was just having issues trying to get myself to do these videos with me sitting here, and it was driving me crazy and I couldn't do it. So when I started to figure out I could just voice everything and then just put footage on there and let people listen to the videos, that moment of aha and insight was like, oh, duh. So then I started creating my workflow process. And my workflow process was write copy, record copy, produce audio, this, that. I had all of these, find footage, write my hashtag, what are my hashtags that I'm using? What's an SEO title? All of those things that I usually do. The list was probably like, gosh, like maybe 15 steps when I first started doing it, because there were so many things that I wanted to do. And I set the list up in Evernote, and I would open up my Evernote folder and I would go check, check, check. And I would follow my little list. Check, check, check. Took me like 15 steps to get through it. But the more I did it, I'm on my second year now of my YouTube channel. And because now I've gone 2 years doing this every single week, my workflow process is four things, because I know what publish means. Because publish means to me, writing the copy that's going to go with the video, putting it up on YouTube, putting the hashtags in there. I know what publish means. And so now publish becomes my workflow routine, even though in my head it's probably like five things. But I want you to think about your workflow process, and it's going to be different for everything. So a video is going to be a different process than just doing an image, than doing a blog post, than doing a post on Facebook. Everything's going to be different. So I want you to think about your workflow process and the point behind your workflow process and seeing your workflow process for all the different content. You're going to start to see where you can batch your time. You're going to start to see, I can make, images for this, and this in one sitting. I can do the copy for this, and this in one sitting. And so when you've got all the workflow processes in front of you, it allows you to see how you can maximize your time, how you can content batch, how you can batch things of similar items into one sitting. So you're no longer having to stop and start and stop and start and stop and start and stop and start. You can get a lot more done in less time. And so when we have these workflow processes in place, it allows us to develop these routines. It allows us to develop these processes. And it's human nature. Like I was telling you, when it first 2 years ago, when I first started doing this, it was 15 steps. Now, because I do it so much, it's human nature that the more often we do something, the quicker we get at it, the easier it becomes for us because we've kind of memorized our steps. We now know exactly where to go, what to do, what process, what website to go to, what resource to use, what skill set we have now that we've developed. All of these things combined are going to help you get more more content produced by developing this process. So the other thing that our content calendar can do is it helps us schedule our posts. And it also helps us repurpose our posts too. So if there's something that we did, like say back in January, that was that did really well, by the time, April, May comes around and it's still getting a lot of traffic, we can take a look at that blog post. We can take a look at that video and we can find ways to repurpose it. Look at this, is like months down the road. It's still driving traffic to my website. This must be a topic that people are interested in. This is driving people to learn more about me and my website and me and my services or the work that I'm doing. What can I do to repurpose this? And so we can use our content calendar to find ways to repurpose it. We could take that blog post and turn it into a video. We can take that video and run a transcript on it and use some of the copy for social media posts. We can turn a good quote into an image and then use some of that copy from the image. We can repurpose it. And our content calendar, because we're seeing the full picture, allows us to repurpose our content, and we put that in our content calendar. We say this day we're going to be repurposing this blog post. How are we going to repurpose it? What are we going to do to repurpose it? And then we can schedule this out. So I want you to think about it from that perspective. See how the content calendar is not just a place for a bunch of squares with dates on it. It is your strategy. This is your marketing strategy moving forward. So we think about our calendar. We also are going to make sure, as I shared with you earlier, that you put time into your content calendar to review and adjust your marketing plan. Every single month, I schedule time into my calendar to do a monthly check-in, my review and recap time that I was talking about. When I go through piece by piece by piece, not just my vanity numbers. I mean, and I meant vanity numbers, and actually I wrote that here in this slide, and I'm talking about vanity numbers. Followers. I am one of those people who truly believes that the number of followers that you have does not mean that you are going to make more sales. Followers do not equal more sales. Period. End of story. The quality of your content does. So I don't mean vanity measurements when I'm talking about that. So when I look at my review, I look at the numbers because I just want to see if there's growth going up and down. I don't move through it going, oh my gosh, I dropped 10 people from my, LinkedIn page, whatever. I don't do that. I look at the insights. I look at what happened. So I want you to think about, what are you going to be monitoring? Now, I gave you a whole list of things that I monitor, and those are the platforms that I use. With the exception of LinkedIn, I should say, I guess the YouTube is too. I'm actually pulled back a lot from social media, and I am focusing on SEO based programs and platforms. SEO based being YouTube, SEO based being Pinterest, SEO based being writing blog posts, showing up on Google. Those are the type of things that I'm doing with my business right now. So those are the things that I'm monitoring. So I want you to think about, what are you monitoring? You're going to be monitoring your social media insights. You'll be monitoring your Google Analytics, your website. If you have an email program, you want to monitor the growth of your email program. How many people signed up? How many subscribers? How many people opted out? What was the open rate on your emails? What was the click through on your emails? Those are the kinds of insights that make sense to us. Those are the kinds of insights that help us understand what's happening and how we can move forward. And if something's not working, these are also the insights to let us know that we can make adjustments to our plans. And that's the big important thing that our content calendar can do, can take you through this process and to look at it and say, okay, this isn't working. How can I move through and make adjustments to this marketing plan? Because right now, if I keep on the path that I'm going, I'm not going to see business growth. I'm not going to reach more customers. This is not going to happen. So what can I do to make adjustments? And our content calendar process is going to help us do that because of the way that it's set up, and it visually allows us to see and to get insights of what's going on. It gives us a space to be able to make changes and make adjustments and make tweaks and whatever we need to do, rather than just go with the status quo because that's what we did last year, or this is what we've always done, even though things are changing. I want you to think about it from that perspective. So I'm about to wrap up right now, and I want to leave you with one last thing, because consistency is not about perfection. It is about progress. And your marketing strategy, all of it, what you did last year, what your goals are for this year, how you're going to use your content calendar. Are you going to do this a version of the RBI program to get more done? All of these things combined are going to help you develop a process. And with a plan in place and getting the right mindset, as we shared at the very beginning of this workshop, I know this. You totally got this, folks. You will totally get this. And so for those of you who are ready to take some action, you want to join me in the Marketing Strategy Collective. I am so excited to finally launch this program. You're going to get personalized feedback. I'm going to be in there every single day. You're going to have other business owners. We're going to have conversations. We're going to talk about sales pages, email sequences, marketing plans, all of those things. And I keep repeating this. This is the opportunity for you to stop working in a solo bubble and work in a collaborative space and get the help that you need with your current content marketing efforts. So I know I've got a couple people here live. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me. Oh, I see something. Wait a minute. I saw a question. Oh, Jennifer says, so excited for this too. I am. Okay. Do you guys have any questions for me who are live? And I know for those of you who are watching the replay, you can ask me questions in the comments below on YouTube where this is going to get posted. I will see your questions. So if you do have questions for me, you are more than welcome to ask your question in the comment and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I'm not seeing anything here with you guys live. So I am going to just wrap this thing up, and thank you so much for your time. And I really hope that you are going to see an amazing 2025 and that this is going to be your best year yet, because you have a plan in place and you're ready to take action and you are going to do the things that you need to do to help your business to see real growth. So thank you so much for your time today, guys. I look forward to working with you all in 2025 and seeing what you're going to accomplish, because I know we're going to do great things together. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye.